I will now be looking to my colleagues from our student services side of the shop and look at ways that we can discuss the support we have for students. So of course, we've covered the academic component through both having some faculty members here and students, and then the sample class that Dr. Vanier was offering. And now we're going to turn over to our student services team. We've referenced the writing lab earlier, but we also have a number of other services that I think it's important for students to be aware of and have the opportunity to learn more about. So I'm just looking for my colleagues to join me and turn on their cameras. There we go. First one, Heather McDonald. I don't know, Heather, if you were on earlier when Ethan was giving you lots of plugs, but we have a well-informed group already about the writing lab. And I'll just maybe kick it off with you and ask if you could introduce yourself. While you do that, you'll see a poll has launched asking which supports and services are you excited to explore. So our participants can start to answer that. And I'll go in order of the people I see on my screen. So Heather, to you first.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm so excited to be here, everybody. I'm so glad to see everyone. I'm really glad Ethan gave me some good plugs. He's one of our top tutors. I really hope that you get a chance to meet with him when you come to visit us next year. So my name's Heather. I am the Writing Center coordinator, and I coordinate the peer tutoring program. And I actually started my journey at STU in 1998 as a student. And I remember trying to submit writing assignments and feeling really vulnerable and unsure about whether or not I was doing it right. And I wish we would have had a writing center at the time. We didn't, but we're so grateful we do now. So our writing center has, we have a team of 5 tutors right now. They will meet with students for free for up to 2 hours a week. Right now we meet virtually, but I'm hoping by the time you get here, we'll also be able to meet in person. And our Writing Center tutors will help you right from the very beginning of the writing process, all the way until the day that you submit. You don't even really need to have anything written to come and visit us. So you can bring your assignment guidelines. Our tutors will go over the professor's instructions and expectations, how to write that thesis statement, a plan for future writing. They'll talk about organization and mechanics and grammar, citation styles. They can help you with online research, anything that you need to get you from the day that you get your assignment till the day that you pass it in. Our peer tutoring program also lets students meet for free up to 2 hours a week, and they are there to help support you in class. And they're going to sit with you to help you learn some great study skills. These are students who are upper level A students, and they've taken these classes. They have done really well in them, and they're excited to share those skills with you. They can help reinforce your classwork and help you with those class readings, study for tests and exams, practice a language or an instrument, and just provide support and motivation to get you through. Sometimes I remember feeling like I wish somebody could just sit down with me as a student and tell me I was doing a good job and help me through. And we're so grateful to have these amazing students here to help you with that. All of our sessions are, as I said, they're free. It's easy online booking. And I'm really looking forward to having you use these services when you get here.
Great, thanks very much, Heather. So just Clara, before I go to you, we're going to see what Mike closing that poll, and we will see the answers here. Okay. Staying consistent with our answers, seeing a good mix of interests. Certainly Dayton, you'll see residence life here might have like just squeaked out a win over time management and succeeding in post-secondary that Kath can speak to. But Clara, a strong performance there for internships and experiential learning, so it's appropriate we'll go to you next. I will just give you a quick heads up because you weren't on earlier that you are the second panelist from Quito today, and we've already talked about sushi and how good it is at Noe. So with that, over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. So my name is Clara Santa Cruz, and I am the manager of the Office of Experiential and Community-Based Learning. I'm also a proud STU alumna from the class of 2016. Love STU. And yeah, I love what I do at my job also, because my team and I aim to provide opportunities to students that enhance their self-knowledge, connect them with their community, and prepare them to better articulate their skills, competencies, and knowledge for for preparation for their future. This includes our paid internships program during the year and the summers. So students get to do internships with different organizations and businesses, and they can even propose their own internship if there isn't a specific placement that we currently offer. That's one of my favorite features of the program. We offer Indigenous cultural workshops with our Indigenous Experiential Learning coordinator, practical workshops for skills development, and employment programs that usually have an emphasis on opening doors for students from equity seeking groups. So I guess in general, we seek to maximize not only the quantity, but the quality of opportunities that students have to apply the learning that they get from their classroom outside of classroom. So yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Clara. And Trenton, sticking to the theme of food that I seem to have incorporated into this presentation, I'll turn it over to you. And for the audience, I'll let you know the reason I reference food with Trenton is that he and our elder in residence, Ming Mahan, and along with the student leaders and the Indigenous and the Wabanaki Center put on a lunch every Wednesday. And so you can just guess based on some of my comments already where I end up at Wednesday at lunchtime. Trenton, over to you.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, my name is Trenton Augustine, and I'm the Indigenous Student Services Coordinator here at STU. I'm originally from Metabanaugia Mi'kmaq Nation, and I'm a Mi'kmaq person. So my role here at STU is to help students with the transition to university and make sure they have the necessary supports to succeed. So that could be academic, could be personal growth, it could be cultural and spiritual. And it could also be with supporting them financially through bursaries and scholarships. So, so my role is just to help students navigate the student support system here at STU and encourage them to take advantage of different supports, such as the Writing Center, such as student success, such as experiential learning. And but not only that, we do a lot of cultural events and activities and workshops, such as our weekly lunch here at the center, which students just love. We always have so many students come by to get a free lunch. There's always like good comfort food to indulge in. And but in terms of events, we do have the STU Powwow, which we have. We do it with other universities, but this year it was over at STU. We had traditional gatherings with elders. We have craft workshops with such as basket making, beading, drumming. And like I mentioned before, we have the Wabanaki Student Center as well. It's a space for all students to come and socialize, relax, study, work on assignments, and have lunch. So it's like a little home away from home for students.
Great. Thanks very much, Trenton. Continuing along the line here of who I see on my screen next, Kath, you're up.
Thanks, Ryan. And I take it I don't get a food connection.
Well, I was going to reference them a number of times. I've stopped by your office to see what treats you have, especially after the long night against procrastination. I seem to frequent your office when I'm more than I probably should.
So hey folks, my name is Kath and I'm the student success coach here at St. Thomas and a member of the student services team. I help students with academic skills. So these are things like time management and organization, how to take good notes during your lectures, different strategies for doing all the reading you're going to do at university, a lot more reading. That's something students can struggle with a bit when they first start taking classes. How to study for those tests and midterms, and then different test taking strategies. So how to approach multiple choice and how to approach a long answer or essay type question. 98% of my time is spent in the time management bit. So I'm very excited. I don't think time management has ever been in like one of the top things that students are interested in this. So I'm excited to talk about time management through this. But it's a normal standard thing that a lot of students can struggle with. Your time is structured differently. If you're taking a full course load, you're in class about 15 hours a week. What are you doing with the rest of your time? And I won't wait for an awkward pause as we think about that. But for a lot of students, that can be a bit difficult, creating that structure, creating that schedule, having a bit more responsibility of it is up to us to make sure we are doing the things we need to be doing. And I also help, I work with a lot of first year students on how to have a successful transition to university. So there are some strategies we can approach there. And a big one is just recognizing that it is a process. It doesn't end on day one. It might not end in September, October, November. It might not end. It might be a second semester thing. Every student who attends university is different and going to have a different student experience. So it is a process. It is going to take some time. So never feel bad if we're into October and we're still like, I don't exactly feel comfortable with my academic writing. That's okay. There are strategies for you. And it might be like more a second semester thing. These are all absolutely skills, and skills with time, the appropriate strategies and effort can and will be developed.
Thank you very much. And Dayton, last but not least, and certainly an office that also has its fair share of treats available if you conveniently stop in to say hi to the Residence Life team. I will just add that our two student panelists earlier, Ethan and Maria, spoke highly of their experience in residence. So job well done on your front. Over to you.
Yay. I was going to say, we quite often compete with Kath to see if we have better snacks in our office, but we will let you all be the judge of that when you come to STU. Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Dayton Edwards, and I am one of two resident supervisors at STU. We help support the student leaders that are going to be in residence when you all come join us. Our office is small but mighty. We have the two supervisors as well as our assistant director of residence life. And we as a team help support the overall function of residence. So at STU, we have 3 residence buildings that you as a first year incoming student are able to access. And each one has its own charm and own appeal. But the nice thing about STU in general, but also all of our residences, are they are very, very close to your class. So when I was a student, I remember being able to roll out of bed every time that I lived in residence, like 5 minutes before my class started and run to it, and you were there on time. And sometimes you beat some off-campus students, which is always so fun. But yeah, our residence communities are more than just buildings. As I mentioned before, we have student leaders that live in residence. So we have residence advisors as well as residence coordinators. And they are up-year students who have lived in residence before, who have undergone some pretty extensive training in the summer to ensure that they are able to support you in your transition and in your journey. So they are equipped with all of the info about STU, all of the ways to support you as you learn to navigate living with roommates, having neighbors, how do we have good conversations with one another, how do we make sure that our spaces are healthy and happy. So you learn a lot in residence. I know sometimes at school you're like, I learned in the classroom. You also learn a lot in residence about who you are as a person and who you're growing to be. You also learn a lot about how to do laundry, so you'll get to learn that skill too. So yeah, we love having students in our residence buildings. They really add a vibrant energy to the campus. And it's nice because you do have constant access to supports, but then also all of these wonderful people in the offices you're meeting today. So that's a little bit about residence, and I'm so excited to have you all join us here.
Great, thank you very much. We're going to open it up to some questions. And before we do that, I'll just pick up on Dayton's note around learning about doing laundry and remind any parents watching that laundry fees or the residence fees actually include laundry. So if someone's showing up with a whole bunch of dirty laundry on long weekends, you can know that you can be sending them back to do it in residence. Heather, first question is going over to you. I've had this question a lot actually when I've been in schools, in high schools, visiting and speaking to students. And You get students who are a little concerned about that leap from high school to university, and in terms of their assignments. Sorry. So I'm wondering if you could talk about some of the key differences that you've seen between a high school assignment and a university level assignment.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. That's a good question. I get that a lot when I do classroom presentations as well. Students are very stressed out when they think about that transition, but I don't think there's anything to be stressed out about, because like Kath was saying, it's a skill. Writing at university is a skill, and it's not necessarily a skill that you've learned yet. So you don't need to be worried that you have to be perfect when you get here. We're going to teach you as you go. You've got 4 years to become a really good writer and a really good thinker and researcher, and you don't start off at the top level. And the assignments and the coursework that you get, it's understanding that. So some of the differences between writing at university and writing at high school are that we expect more of a formal tone. So we wouldn't use contractions like can't or wouldn't in our writing. We tend to use research-based evidence when we write our papers and do research at a university library. And usually all of the writing follows kind of a basic formula that you might be familiar with. It can be as basic as the hamburger model of essay writing that you might have learned in your middle school or high school. It doesn't really change. It just adapts to the material that you're learning. And these adaptations can be learned slowly, and they can be worked on, and your voice will get stronger and your skills will get better. And it will happen naturally as you go. But by using the Writing Center and by reading lots of things within the university environment, you're going to have supports to get you there. There's lots of supports we have online. You can check out our webpage at stu.ca/writing center, that's center with an RE. We've got a bunch of resources that live on there to help support your writing when you can't meet with a tutor. And I also have some live workshops that I've recorded that live on there too. They might even be useful to you right now as you finish your high school journey. There's workshops on how to write a university essay, the basic formulas, how to research for a university essay, how to incorporate that research into your writing. And I think there's one on the new edition of the APA citation style, the 7th edition. So feel free to check that out. And feel free to send an email to us at writingcenter@stu.ca, and we can field any of your concerns that you have ahead of time. Also, you can like us on social media, Stu Writing Center. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and we even started a TikTok. So we'll send some good resources your way and tell you about some events and some other things that might just ease your mind a bit as you come in. But it's all going to be fine. We're here for you every step of the way.
Thanks very much, Heather. And I'm glad you mentioned that natural progression of a student's kind of evolution in their work, because I've often talked to students in high schools who may be a little nervous or concerned about making that jump. And I say, like, look, grade 10 prepared you for grade 11, 11, 12. Then you get to your 12th year or your senior year, you're building the fundamental skills that you need to be successful at further studies here at university. And then we just have all the supports to help you continue with that evolution. So thanks for that. Clara, we talked earlier especially during Brianna Workman, our alumna who spoke about her experiences and at STU and after St. Thomas, we talked about kind of the why. Why do students come to STU, and why do we as St. Thomas do what we do as far as helping give students the core skills to be successful, in particular for STU students, a lot of times change makers in their local communities. I'm curious, and we've had a question specifically though about kind of the internships and experiential learning that your office offers, and how that's unique at St. Thomas in particular as a liberal arts university. And maybe you could just speak a little bit about the opportunities that you and your team make available for our students.
Sure. So we offer a very wide variety of opportunities. Internships, for sure. The internships program is extracurricular, so you can do it on top of your courses, and it's a great opportunity to try to explore what do you like, what do you like to do, what are your strengths, what type of career path would you like to pursue after you graduate from STU, and yeah, know yourself too, like how do you work best with others. what type of workplace you enjoy. So internships are great for that, and they are paid, and our students do internships in so many different places, from the Canadian Mental Health Association of New Brunswick to our local Chamber of Commerce, the Legislative Assembly of New Brunswick, government, the Harvest Jazz and Blues Festival, lots of different places that students can go to, because the liberal arts degree that you are studying as a student allows you to be super flexible and transferable, and to be able to go anywhere, really. We even have students that go into augmented reality companies, and they do the communication that allows other people to understand this type of like complex technology better. So our students often get hired in those places too. So yeah, lots of different options for internships, but students also are able to do volunteering locally anywhere, and there's lots of nonprofit organizations and organizations that seek to help alleviate some of the issues locally. So students love to engage in that too. And we also offer some courses too, where you can do internships for credits as well, like the community-based internship course that's offered next semester that I'm excited about. Yeah.
Claire, just before I go to my next question, can you give some examples of where students are completing some of these opportunities?
Yes, for sure. So this semester we have students working at the Fredericton Region Museum, at the Fredericton Chamber of Commerce, for Huddle Today, which is a journalism and communications online website, for the Multicultural Association here, the Capital Region Mental Health and Addictions Association, nursing homes, Theater New Brunswick, the Provincial Theater Company, Autism Connections Fredericton, the Provincial Archives. Yeah, lots of places.
Pretty big scope. That's
Yeah.
great. That's a great opportunity. Thank you. Dayton, we've had a few questions already come in about residences. I'm going to lump them all into one big question for you. Well, one question with 3 different parts. So the first question is, can you request to live with someone in residence, someone specifically in residence? How do room placements work in general, especially if you don't know anyone else coming to residence? And then can we talk with our roommates before we move in September?
Those are all wonderful questions. So the really important thing to know about residents and even coming to university in general, there are so many people that are coming to their chosen school without knowing anyone else. It might be the first time in your life that you're jumping into a space where you're like, I don't know anyone else. And that is so okay, because that's very normal. And that's actually quite a common experience. So for us, it's really important that when you live in residence, if you are coming with folks that you know and you want to live with, you absolutely can request to live with them. And we have a process in our online system to indicate that. But that also, if you are coming to residence and you don't know anyone, that you are best matched with someone with similar lifestyle preferences. So what I mean by that is, are you a night owl, or do you go to bed really early? Do you like to study with music, or do you like to study in silence? Are you really social, or are you kind of more of an introvert? And when we ask you these questions, sometimes they can feel a little funny, but it's really helpful for us in our office to know kind of what would best complement your needs while at university. And there's no right or wrong answer, it's just whatever your preference is. So for us, the application process is really cool, because you get a lot of autonomy over the place that you live in residence, people you live with. And the important thing to note is you're allowed to apply for residence as soon as you get an offer of admissions from STU. You'll actually be sort of prompted as like a next step section on how to sort of do all the things, including residence. And usually when it comes to the summer months, so about May or June, you'll be prompted to go into our online system and actually choose the room that you're in, the room style you're in, and then the building that you're in. So if you have been doing some tours of STU, or you're about to, and you're sort of trying to figure out maybe the best building for you, you'll actually be able to go in and choose a specific space. So even if you're like, I have a lucky number, I want to choose that room, whatever your preference, you are able to do that. And the important thing for us is we are constantly communicating with you. So the best piece of advice I can give you coming into university is check your emails, both your personal one you provide the school, but then also when you get your STU specific email address, that is the big place to be checking. So we are really good at STU, but also in our office at communicating with students, getting back to sort of any questions you might have, because we understand there's lots. And when you're sort of looking to get those questions answered, feel free to just contact us directly. We are more than happy to help answer any questions.
Great, thanks very much. Kath, somebody obviously picked up on our discussion on treats because they're asking, how would they go about making an appointment with you, and how often can they meet with you throughout their semester?
So I no longer have any treats because Ryan ate them. But so to make an appointment with me, there's a couple different ways. You can do it through the STU website. So if you go to current students, which you'll find at the top, and then a whole bunch of list of resources will pop up for you over on the right-hand side of the webpage. I am student success coach or student success services. Click there and then you can book an appointment. There'll be an option for that. And I think I'm just going to continue. I'm meeting with students in person or online. It's kind of nice to have that flexibility. So whatever you want is how we'll do it. In person, you get to sit in that chair over there when we wear masks and we do some time management stuff. And as for meeting with me, there is no cap really. Like once a week would be the most I would meet with a student. But I meet with plenty of students multiple times. There are very few students when I first meet with them that we do the time management stuff and then we say, all right, good luck, off you go. Because really a big part of the time management piece or successful time management piece is we want to keep things small. And so with that, we create weekly schedules. The whole semester is big and overwhelming, and we will eventually progress through it. But let's first worry about September's tasks before we start getting overwhelmed with October. So with the weekly schedule, I'll meet with students and then we'll schedule a check-in the next week and then we'll just see how that went. And with subsequent check-ins, I take a more backseat role and the student takes a more active role and begins planning and identifying their tasks and identifying when they can be working. So as for appointments throughout the semester, it's really up to what the student needs. So some students I'll meet with 2 or 3 times. That's usually the average, but then I have plenty of students I meet with all semester, and even we'll just do a 30-minute check-in. And I find this really helpful for a lot of students who are registered in accessibility, so right, who have ADHD or some anxiety, just like kind of having that accountability piece is super helpful. And also you can just email me. If you look at the booking system and something doesn't work, I can be flexible on my end.
Great, thank you, Trenton. You're next on my my question list here. So there was a question just about even like how to connect with you to access services, but I'm going to expand on that a little bit because you had mentioned the role that you play and briefly touched on some of the other team members you have. But maybe I'll give you the mic to maybe talk a little bit about like what other opportunities there are through the Wabanaki Center, but also if you could just kind of start things off as well, like how do people connect with you, get on your list to be part of your offerings? Sorry.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm always available to students if they want to drop by. My office is here at the Wabanaki Student Center, and it's in the James Dunn building, James Dunn Hall, which is like the social hub of STU where everybody kind of hangs out. So students usually just drop by, and I'm always here to assist them with whatever they might need, but they also could contact me through email or even social media. I use, instant messaging. So students love using that as a way to get a hold of me, and it's quick and easy. And so I try to build those relationships with students so they feel comfortable with me, and I'm able to support them even better once I get to know them. So I also encourage students to follow our social medias, which is Wabanaki Student Center. You'll find us on Instagram and Facebook. But it's a great way to learn about what's going on campus, see all the different events, activities, and workshops. And it's the majority of our stuff is open to every student. So, we have international students that come to our lunch. We have, all kinds of students that come here and that feel comfortable at our center. And, I love working with all students. So, it's pretty great.
And actually, Trent, while you have the mic, I think we're at about 11 or 12% of our student population now who have identified with us as Indigenous students. And I'm curious, though, if you could speak to a little bit about how non-Indigenous students can learn more about the Indigenous community while at STU.
Yeah, for sure. So I'd say, one of the things is, like I mentioned, is to drop by the Wabanaki Student Center, come hang out during our lunches. That's where I get to know a lot of students. And then they feel comfortable coming back. But, follow the social medias. And like a lot of our events are very big events. I say, just for example, we had Orange Shirt Day, which was September 30th, which was I say it was a pretty big event, which involved like the entire STU campus and STU community, where they came by, they learned about residential schools, and they learned about what they could do to support the survivors and the children. So there's opportunities there to learn, and we try to do our best to like highlight these different important Indigenous issues that are going on in the world, or in Canada, I guess, and just to educate and to bring awareness to all these different things that are happening. So, and we always encourage all students to get involved. So.
Great, thank you. I do have another question for you, but I'm going to turn the mic over to Dayton again, and I'll come back to you, Trent, in a moment. But Dayton, I mentioned earlier, both Ethan and Maria spoke about their experience in residence, and of course, the others on the panel, including yourself, have referenced the advantages of living in residence. And this specific question is, what would I miss if I choose not to live in residence, other than making friends, which I could probably do in my classes?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And this has been something discussed a lot in university and college communities for quite a few years. There have been studies done that students actually tend to do better in their classes, grades-wise, when they live in residence, as well as have a higher success rate in actually graduating. And I attribute that to a few things. So yes, like the question mentioned, you definitely meet a lot of people in residence, and you make a lot of friends. And the one thing that's really nice is that it's almost like a built-in default, as opposed to just classes where you kind of have to put in a little bit more effort. So if you count yourself as an introvert, or you're like, I have a little bit harder time just kind of knowing where to start and making some connections, residence is a good place because it's purposely built around the intention of connecting you with the people that live in your building, but also in residence as a whole. So we definitely have some advantages around when we have Welcome Week, because resident students have leaders bringing them around, events to actually connect them to one another. And then throughout the year, you have a lot of connections with our residence councils, as well as our RAs. You're connected to your community. So there's a lot of opportunities for connection that you might miss out on if you are not in residence. But then also part of it is when you are in residence, you often have a little bit of an easier time taking advantage of some of the resources. So because you don't have to commute in, it's a little bit easier for you to take those kind of early morning appointments, as well as stay later for events, be able to be part of societies, all that good stuff. So when you live in residence, I know it can feel a little bit overwhelming to be like, well, I have to do new class and live in a new place. But it creates this more immersive experience for you as a student. So you do feel connected even outside of classes, because depending on what classes you're in, there might not be as much opportunity as you think to actually chat with people, especially if you have a busier schedule. And the profs do an incredible job of building those connections, but then having another layer, an additional layer of meeting people who are outside of your program is really, really important. You get to learn a lot more about different worldviews, a lot more about different types of people than sort of the same people that you're in a class with over and over throughout the semester. So I personally lived in residence and worked in residence when I was a student, and I've seen the benefits and I felt the benefits. So it's definitely spoken from true experience that it's a great place to sort of start your journey.
Great, thanks very much. Claire, I'm going to bounce over to you now. So this is kind of, I guess, both in terms of your personal experience as an international student who now has stayed and is living and working in Fredericton in Canada, but also in terms of your work with international students through your office, the opportunities that St. Thomas, New Brunswick, Canada present to international students who are not only maybe thinking about their academic opportunities, but also post studies, their work opportunities.
Yeah, so I was an international student, and it's great that you're able to either like choose to work on campus and have an on-campus job at the writing center at Residence Live, or helping out with events like Long Night Against Procrastination, or like being a research assistant, etc. Like all of those on-campus job options are great, and a great way to start gaining some Canadian work experience while you're a student. But you can also work off campus, which is not something that you can do often in other countries. And you can do that also in a safe way through our internships program, where you have the support of my team and we can help you navigate different situations in the workplace. And you actually get to make a lot of connections with employers off campus in our city, in the province, in the entire country. So that's really great. The opportunity to gain like career experience is pretty limitless here at STU for international students. And then it's great that you can easily apply for post-graduation work permits, and I am a permanent resident of Canada now, so it's doable, and I was able to have a really strong network that allowed me to stay here at STU. And well, I never wanted to leave, so I'm glad I'm here.
Great. Okay, so we're coming in on time, but Trent, I did have a question to go back to you on, but before we do that, twice now we've mentioned Long Night Against Procrastination. 3 times. Kath? We have one coming up, I believe. And maybe just kind of explain again how that works. We had a question about that.
I think an intro to that, Ryan, would be speaking of snacks. So the Long Night Against Procrastination, or LNAP, as you will see it advertised, will take place the Thursday after March Reading Week. And the point is, it comes at a time in the semester where students are tired. We've done January, we've done February, we're kind of doing March, but we still have like final exams and final papers in April. We're nearing the end of winter, so it's dark, it's been cold, but we are approaching spring. So it is a time in the semester where motivation, which is our desire to do anything, is quite low for our academic tasks. And what we do is we all congregate in James Dunn Hall, and there's a bunch of food, and there's a bunch of fun, and there's therapy dogs, and there's a whole bunch of students. And between the hours of 5 p.m. to midnight, we do some work. We build up some momentum, we build up some motivation. Everyone comes together and kind of feasts and is productive, but also takes some breaks or can learn some other skills. The writing center's there, peer tutoring's there. There's a lot of services that we extend our hours. And yeah, we just build up some momentum and some positivity and manage our stress a bit just to complete the semester to the best of our ability. So that is the long night against procrastination.
Wonderful. So we're 2 minutes over on our time, but Trenton, I'm coming back to you. And this question really, I think, kind of blends, is a good example of the blending of the services that we offer. So in particular, when I'm thinking about the work that Rachel does as part of kind of your team, Clara's team, and the opportunities that again, really, I mean, from Indigenous and non-Indigenous students, the opportunity to kind of build their resume, both in terms of maybe work, but also other opportunities. Like I'm thinking about Shyla's book last year, and maybe you can just kind of speak to some of the examples that you've seen and the ways that have helped our students catapult their careers as they leave STU.
For sure. So one of the great things is the last few years we have the Indigenous internship program here at STU, which has provided a lot of great opportunities for students to get that work experience before they start out on their careers. They're able to get it while they're here as a student. And they're also able to do projects, a lot of opportunities to do projects and initiatives that, for example, like you mentioned, Shyla's book. So we had a student that she was exploring, she was doing a drawing class and a painting class, and she kind of put them both together. And she came up with this idea of, okay, it'd be nice. I want to get back to my community. I want to explore the Mi'kmaq language. And so we linked her up with a book publisher, and through the support of the Experiential Learning Office, she was able to create a book, a children's book, which has gone on to have such great success. It's been put in pretty much all the libraries in New Brunswick. It's been put into Chapters, which is like a big bookstore here in Canada. It's been put into different there's like infant packages when there's babies being born, so they get a package, and so that was put in there. The book was part of that package. So there's been such great success with that program, and yeah, I think it's great.
I think that's a really good example for us to close this portion of our discussion today, because we've talked about throughout a theme around change makers and the why we do what we do at St. Thomas. And of course, we've highlighted all the academic and the student services that are available to you as prospective students. And when you think about the core of what we do in helping students kind of deliver those fundamental skills that they need to not only make a difference for themselves personally and professionally as they evolve, both in their academic careers and their work careers, but it's also about being a really strong contributor to your local and your global community. And I think that sums up exactly why we do what we do at St. Thomas. And Shyla's taking her experience as a student and applying that in a way that has transformed the opportunity from infancy to baby all the way through to school-age children learning about their, not only Indigenous students learning about Mi'kmaq language in their own community, but I know non-Indigenous youth also learning. So it's a great example of the impact that our students have here at St. Thomas and in our local and global communities.